Our story kicks off in 1945, when a couple of soldiers are flying home after winning World War II. They're feeling pretty good about themselves until they fly into the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Suddenly, their equipment starts malfunctioning like a cheap video game, and giant creatures start crashing into their airplane. The soldiers have no choice but to jump out of the plane with their parachutes, hoping to land safely. One of the soldiers, let's call him Bob, finally lands on a mysterious island. But just when he thinks he's safe, a massive crocodile leaps out of the water and gobbles up his buddy in one bite. Bob is now stranded on an island filled with monsters. Not the vacation he was hoping for. Fast forward to many years later, and we meet our main character, Hao, who is on a commercial airplane flying over the Bermuda Triangle, and the passengers are blissfully unaware of the danger lurking below. Our MC is a single dad traveling with his teenage daughter, Lin, who has brought along her new boyfriend, Chen. Hao is not thrilled about this new relationship and demands to know how long they've been dating. Lin rolls her eyes and gives him the silent treatment, which only makes Hao glare at Chen like he's a contestant on a bad reality show. Before their argument can escalate, the plane starts shaking violently, and chaos erupts as passengers scramble for oxygen masks. The pilots realize their equipment is failing, and they have to bring the plane down toward a nearby island. As they descend, gigantic birds swoop in and start attacking the plane, causing even more damage. The aircraft drops like a rock, and the pilots struggle to maintain control, but it's no use, the plane is ripped apart. As the plane crashes into the ocean, the plane smashes into the rocks of the island, breaking into pieces and knocking everyone out like a bad punchline. When Hao finally comes to, he finds himself on the beach and quickly rescues Lin. They look around and see that only a handful of passengers survived the crash. As they gather themselves, they realize they're stranded on this island with no drinkable water and no cell signal. Talk about a vacation nightmare. Knowing they can't survive long on the beach, Hao decides to venture into the forest with Chen to find more resources. They stumble upon a small building hidden among the trees. Inside, they find weapons and a notebook written by a soldier from World War II. Luckily, one of their companions is a professor who can read English, but when he checks out the journal, he discovers that the island is crawling with giant monsters. Panic sets in as they realize they need to warn the others about the danger they're in. So, they hightail it back to the beach, hoping to save their friends from becoming monster chow. On the other hand, a survivor named Fong, who is in a fierce battle with a woman over the last bottle of drinkable water. It's like a scene from a reality show gone wrong. Just as things are getting heated, another guy named Lee steps in and punches Fong right in the face. Now that's one way to settle a water dispute. Their scuffle spills into the water, and a flight attendant tries to break it up, but no one else is stepping in to help. Fong's pregnant wife, Jia, sees the chaos and tries to pull her husband away from the fight. Just when they think they can sort things out, everyone suddenly realizes something big is coming their way. Out of nowhere, a crocodile pops up and attacks the flight attendant. Panic erupts, and everyone starts running for their lives as more reptiles crawl onto the beach, munching on anyone who's too slow to escape. When Hao finally makes it back from the forest, he's shocked to find the area deserted, with only crocodile footprints left behind. He figures his friends must still be alive, so he takes off to chase after them. Meanwhile, the survivors are running in different directions, trying to escape the hungry monsters. Lin, Hao's daughter, manages to find a clearing with Lee and his wife. They stumble upon some fresh water and take a moment to recover, but then Lee hears strange noises coming from the forest. Luckily, it's just Hao and his group returning, and they all reunite. But before they can celebrate, Hao notices vibrations in the ground, and everyone freezes in fear. Suddenly, a giant crocodile reveals itself from behind the rocks, towering over the group. It locks eyes with one poor guy, causing him to panic so much that he has an embarrassing accident right there. He monster lunges forward and swallows him whole, sending the rest of the survivors sprinting for their lives. The massive reptile charges after them, aiming right for Hao, but he dodges just in time. The creature then turns its attention to a woman stuck between some rocks and gobbles her up too. The group manages to escape just in time and Hao leads them back to the building he found earlier. He suggests they camp there for the night and tells Chen to keep watch for any more monsters. The next morning, while everyone is still snoozing, Hao decides to gather some fruits for breakfast, hoping his daughter will have something to eat when she wakes up. Meanwhile, Fong has survived alongside a woman named Liqui, who seems more interested in getting famous than staying alive. Liqui gets herself covered in some sticky goo and demands Fong help her clean it off. But Fong is more amused by her predicament than anything else. What they don't realize is that the sticky stuff is actually from giant spider eggs. Back at the camp, Lin finally wakes up and decides to go look for her dad. As she steps outside, she notices they're surrounded by giant insects in the fog. She quietly tries to wake the others so they can avoid becoming lunch for these creepy crawlies. But their plan goes south when one survivor accidentally gets sticky goo on his head and is immediately eaten by a giant insect. Panic sets in, and everyone realizes the other monsters are closing in. They start running, but the giant spiders are right on their tails. The commotion alerts Hao, who races back to help after hearing the screams. As the survivors dash through the forest, they're suddenly blocked by a massive creature ready to make them its next meal. The giant monster starts swinging its massive legs at the humans, trying to poke them like they're marshmallows on a stick. Luckily, the professor distracts the creature just in time, saving everyone from becoming monster snacks. The monster immediately turns its attention to the professor, chasing him like he's the last slice of pizza at a party. Before the survivors can catch their breath, they realize more enemies are on the way, forcing them to dash deeper into the forest again. They run like their lives depend on it, because they do. Finally, they manage to lose the creepy crawlers by hiding in some bushes, praying the spiders will just leave them alone. To their surprise, they start hearing footsteps approaching. But it's Hao, the main character, who spots all the monsters lurking around. He decides to yell at the creatures, trying to lure the spiders away from his friends. It's a risky move, but it works. The monsters chase after him, giving the others a chance to escape. Hao sprints back to the wooden building, where he finds the professor hiding like a scared cat. But wait, they don't realize the monster is lying in wait for an ambush. As they try to stay quiet, the creature drops down from above and attacks. Hao fights for his life, but the professor gets mortally wounded and dies, leaving Hao all alone to face the giant beast. The monster knocks him into the walls like he's a rag doll, and it tries to drag him away for a final snack. Just when it seems all hope is lost, Hao breaks free and runs away, tossing a grenade at the monster. Boom. The explosion sends the creature flying into pieces. On the other side, the remaining survivors manage to escape and find a small river to cross. But before they can make it to the other side, a crocodile pops up and stuns everyone with fear. Chen, Lin's boyfriend, tries to attack the crocodile but forgets how to walk in the process, giving the creature the perfect chance to chomp him. Luckily, Hao swoops in and saves him at the last second, but the crocodile roars angrily, ready for round 2. It charges at Hao, but he dodges just in time, and the crocodile splashes back into the water, leaving them for now. Hao reunites with Lin, and they finally embrace, with Hao promising that everything will be okay from now on. Meanwhile, the girl covered in sticky goo has found a fresh water source with Fang. They start drinking and washing up like they're in a commercial for beauty products. Just as she's trying to look too cute for the audience, she hears a splash behind her and realizes they're not alone in the water. Before she can escape, Fang shows up, wanting some aggressive cuddling in the lake. She quickly rejects him, which causes him to have a mini meltdown. Just when they're about to leave the water, the crocodile grabs the girl, dragging her under and pulling Fang along for the ride. In a panic, Fang starts kicking her like she's a piñata, helping Crocodile to devour her whole. Meanwhile, the other survivors continue their trek through the forest and stumble upon a crashed airplane that likely belonged to the soldiers from earlier. They search for anything useful and find a machine gun and a working radio. Lin jumps at the chance to call for help, finally giving everyone a glimmer of hope that they might survive this nightmare. As they decide to head toward the beach, they run into another survivor. Guess who? It's Fang. Even though the group doesn't trust him at all, they have no choice but to let him tag along. Hao warns Fang to keep his distance from Lin, making it clear he's not about to let this guy mess things up again. The group finally makes it to a large river, but there's a problem. The pregnant woman can't swim. So, the team decides to help her build a makeshift raft. Hao, being the brave dad, volunteers to swim across the river and pull her along. He manages to get to the other side, and soon the rest of the survivors start swimming too. Everything seems to be going smoothly until, a giant crocodile pops up from the water, and chaos breaks loose. Everyone starts panicking and swimming for their lives as the massive creature charges toward them. Lin makes it across with her boyfriend, Chen, but Fang also escape, but the husband of pregnant woman is still in the water trying to push his wife across. Realizing they have no chance to escape, the husband heroically pushes his wife away and sacrifices himself to the crocodile. Jia, his wife, screams in tears as she watches her husband get devoured, and the crocodile turns its hungry gaze back to the rest of the group. Hao, seeing the chaos, grabs a machine gun and starts shooting at the crocodile, giving the others a chance to run. The monster chases them closely, but they manage to escape to a clearing. Hao tries to hold the creature back with his gun, but he has to jump out of the way at the last second. The giant reptile continues its rampage, and the group splits up to avoid getting caught. Fang, however, has another one of his performance issues and trips over his own feet. Lin sees him fall and rushes back to help, but Fang takes the opportunity to throw her toward the crocodile, hoping to save himself. What a jerk, man. The monster lunges for Lin, but luckily, Hao distracts it just in time by shooting at it, allowing Lin to escape. Hao's bullets actually start to hurt the monster, but in the chaos, he accidentally hits Fang too, paralyzing his legs. The crocodile sees Fang down and rushes toward him, but at that moment, Fang has a heart attack from all the stress and collapses. The crocodile takes advantage of this and swallows him whole. Meanwhile, Hao races after the monster to rescue his daughter. As night falls, he tracks the creature to a cave and rushes in with the remaining survivors. They carefully tiptoe through the large tunnel, only to find Godzilla snoozing next to some rocks. Chen tells Jia to head back to the entrance, but before she can leave, she spots her husband's body and breaks down in tears. This almost wakes up the giant monster, but luckily, she calms down just in time. Hao keeps moving forward, determined to find Lin. He eventually spots her, and they share a heartwarming reunion. But just as they're about to leave, Chen notices that the crocodile has vanished. It's right behind him. Hao sees that Chen is frozen in fear, so he has no choice but to fire at the monster to save everyone. Chen takes the chance to grab Lin and rush her toward the exit while Hao distracts the creature. The monster charges at Hao, who narrowly escapes by diving into a small opening. But oh no. He realizes he dropped his grenade right behind the creature. Chen rushes back to help and tells Hao to find the grenade before the monster breaks in. He frantically searches for the weapon and finally spots it. With a burst of bravery, he runs toward the crocodile, throws the grenade, and, boom. The explosion shakes the entire cave, causing serious damage to the giant creature. Hao sees this and rushes back to the entrance, finally giving Chen a thumbs up for being so brave. But just when they think they're in the clear, they realize the monster is still alive. Hao grabs a knife and rolls down the rocks, slicing the crocodile as it charges at him. With one final attack, the giant monster falls to the ground for the last time. Chen rushes over to pull Hao out from under the creature, and miraculously, he's okay. The group finally escapes the cave and heads toward the beach as the sun rises, with helicopters coming in for their rescue. So, what do you think about this wild adventure? Let me know in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe for more crazy stories. See you next time.